Hey everyone. We're going to do things a little bit differently this month because I feel like taking you with me on this process of creating whatever journaling prompts, whatever affirmations that I want to create. Because honestly, I'm a little bit all over the place. And usually, of all the things that go through my mind, one thing sticks out, and then I decide, okay, I'm going to make all of my Patreon content about this thing that has been on my mind this month. But there has been a lot of things, and I just want to talk it through with you. And as I'm talking, I am trusting that it comes to me what I want to focus on with our affirmations, with our journaling prompts. So I'm basically taking you with me on my whole thought process of creation, which I think might be interesting for some of you too, because creativity is one of the things that my content has been focused on. It has been focused on your unique gifts, what you're capable of, trusting yourself, and all of these things. And I think it's interesting to see someone else's process. So, usually, I sit down, I write down some thoughts, some ideas, and as I said, one sticks out. This time that didn't happen. I wrote down some thoughts, and I don't know yet what it's going to be. So let's think about it together. One thing I want to update you guys about, because it's right in front of my face, I have all of these like, uh, you know, I don't know, sports, Pilates, gymnastic things lying around because I use them so much that I have them handy lying around me at all times. Because I have an injury in my hip, in my left hip. And I've been basically going to doctors about this for 3 months or so. So it's been a while. I've tried an osteopath, I've been to an orthopedic, and now I'm in physiotherapy. And I feel like it's finally helping because I'm also doing all the exercises at home that I got to do. I'm really trying to make this recovery as smooth as possible, but it's very strange because usually I'm used to inflammations just going away on their own, and this isn't going away. It hasn't been going away for months. So I'm trying to do my best, like with massages that I can do myself, massages that my physiotherapist can do, exercises that I can do to just strengthen my muscles because they're quite weak. And that contributes to the issue as well, probably. But it's really difficult because a lot of things hurt. And then I'm like, is it okay that it's hurting? Is it helping me? Or am I doing something wrong? But now that I have a physiotherapist, at least that's a bit more clear. And I feel like I know which exercises I can do and which not. But yeah, it's been a long journey. And I think I haven't mentioned it because usually health issues just go away after a month or two for me. But this one has been sticking around. And I think it's important to talk about those journeys. And also, I have the idea, I have the suspicion, that is the word, that I might be hypermobile. And there's this test that you can do online to find out whether you're hypermobile. And I check, like, I don't know, 4 out of 5 or 4 out of 6 or something. Basically, my whole upper body seems to be hypermobile to me, and my whole lower body isn't, which is a bit strange. And I think that contributes to the issue because the like origin of the injury, I think, was that I went to the gym and I used a machine a little bit wrongly, I want to say. And I think people who aren't hypermobile, it wouldn't necessarily happen to them. But if you are hypermobile and your joints don't have as much stability as a result, it can happen that the joints are more easily damaged and the sinews in the joints are more easily damaged, as far as I understand. I talk about this like I'm a doctor. I'm not, but that's the wonderful thing about, the world. We have to figure out everything on our own. And I mean, I live in Germany. I was born here. I've had um, medical care all my life. that I can't complain about. And yet, doctors so often don't listen to you. They don't have much time, or they don't take it seriously, or they just don't know enough. I heard there was a study conducted that was looking at how well doctors determine diagnoses, and it compared someone diagnosing themselves with the help of a large language model, so with the help of an AI, someone being diagnosed by a doctor, only a doctor, and someone being diagnosed by a doctor with an LLM, with an AI, essentially. And the group that won, that made the most accurate diagnoses, I guess, was just the LLM, just AI. Even the doctor with AI, all the doctor did was add bias, essentially, that made the diagnoses problematic or more wrong. I haven't looked at the study myself, but I wanted to talk about this because it's definitely a feeling that I have, where you just have to take care of your own health, and you have to, you can go to a doctor and get an opinion, but also go to, I don't know, osteopaths, naturopaths, whatever you can get access to, acupuncture, all of these things can be helpful. And yeah, that's essentially all I have to say about it. I'm still working on it. I'm really, really proud of myself, of, doing all of these exercises. I'm really happy that I'm doing it, that I'm forcing myself to do it, because I'm not the most let's do sports type of person. um, yeah. And if you're struggling with something similar, I hope that this is some small help for you, or maybe inspirational for you to, find new ways of looking at it, because one doctor is not going to give you all the answers. You have to look for them yourself. You have to take care of it yourself. You have to understand your body yourself, because doctors are never going to try as hard as you will to understand your body and to help you. And you know your body best in some ways as well. So I wish you all the best with whatever health struggles you may have. And at the same time, I hope you have no health struggles at all. All right. I wanted to update you on that. And now we're going to talk about the topics for this month that I had in mind. So, one thing that this month has been a struggle for me. Oh, I have a new journal, by the way. It's so cool. I always buy the same ones by this brand called Tushita, and they are just blank. I love it. And they always have new, different designs. So, I'm really happy with that. So, one thing that I thought about was that I have this immense pressure and fear to make the best of things, whether that is having days off, whether that is, having an hour at your disposal. I always think I have to make the best of everything. Even when I'm trying to sleep, I'm like, I really need to sleep now. I have to get up in the morning. I need to get enough hours of sleep. I have to make the best of it. And I think I developed this fear of maybe not making the best of things, like making the best of summer. We all have that, the FOMO of I have to cram as much as possible into this summer. I think I developed it because I used to not do that, and I don't regret it, but I think I could have made more of certain times in my life, and I could have, enjoyed them more, or been more present in those moments, or just made more of it. And I don't want to have that feeling about my life when I'm on my deathbed. I want to feel like I made the most of it, in the sense that I was in the moment. I was not distracted. I was adding value to my life and, other people's lives. And that is essentially where that pressure comes from. And sometimes it's a little bit too much pressure. For example, I haven't been sleeping well. And then I'm lying there and I'm like, you have to sleep well, though. As I said, like, you need to get enough hours. And ever since I stopped doing that and I started relaxing a bit more and being like, I just trust that I'm going to get enough sleep. Even if I just sleep 4 hours, I'm going to trust that it's enough, and I'm going to trust myself to handle it. And of course, I've been sleeping better because I took the pressure of having to sleep better out, which is funny. I just don't count the hours as much. I just accept the amount of sleep that my body can take, especially in the summer when it's bright outside so early. So yeah, that was one thing, but I feel like there's not so much to say about it, you know? There's the whole idea of how do you make the best of things? And I'm a great fan of that. I think it's super important to be present and, not just let things happen to you and be passive, because when you actively participate in life, in the things around you, you also remember more. You have more memories. You related to something rather than just passively sitting there and waiting until it's over, or not being in a good mood, things like that. um but yeah, there's a lot of facets to that, but I don't know if that warrants a whole patreon Patreon affirmations and journaling prompts thing. We could do that. Hmm. We could do that. Like journaling prompts about um maybe where you put pressure on yourself that is undue. Can you say that? Undue pressure. Um Maybe that does make sense. And then I also thought about just making content that's very tarot focused, because I know I have a lot of subscribers and all of you guys are basically into tarot. I've tried to keep my Patreon a bit more self-development centered and not just make it about tarot, but I could also make a tarot centered month where we do journaling prompts to relate to a deck more, um, or I do affirmations that get you in the right mindset to read tarot for yourself. Maybe that's a good idea too. I'll consider that. And then another whole complex of thoughts in my mind is the idea of discipline versus creativity, because I really don't like the word discipline. For me, the word discipline and the word creativity don't go together. It's this very, I feel, masculine perspective of you have to force yourself to create, you have to force yourself to write. And it's not that I necessarily disagree with that, but I don't know if the discipline is the right word for that. Because I do recognize the value of routines for creative work. I think if you know what gets you in the right mood to create something, whether it's a painting, drawing, drawing, or writing, whether it's poetry or you're writing a book, there's so many different creative disciplines. Um, I don't know, bedazzling things is creative. Putting stickers onto things can be creative. Um, Crocheting is creative. All of that stuff. um, but it's also different in its way of expressing yourself and of what creativity actually is in that sense. But still, I feel like sometimes we're just not in the mood to do certain things, and that is okay. And always forcing ourselves to do it and having this discipline is not necessarily good. But still, I see the value of having a routine that brings you into the right mindset, in my case, to write. Um, and then seeing if you can figure it out, seeing if you want to write. If you really can't, you can't, but you tried at least and you allotted that time. You carved out time in your day to be creative. I can wholeheartedly recommend that. Um, and I do also believe, I don't know who said that, but the whole idea of inspiration comes when you're working, inspiration comes at your desk. It doesn't just visit you when you're, I don't know, doing something completely different. And then you're like, bam, I need to go write or paint or whatever. Sometimes that happens, but not all the time. You can't rely on that divine spark of inspiration to hit you and to wait until that happens to start being creative. So I agree with that. So I agree with making time and space for your art. Um, yeah, but it's nuanced as usual. You can't force yourself to do it all the time either. And also giving yourself permission to make something shitty, to write something shitty, to paint something shitty. It makes you so much more creative as well, and allows you to um, go into new directions without pressuring yourself too much. Yeah. So even just this video that I'm making right now, I feel like it is about trusting in your creativity. And once you trust something, it gets easier. You find a way, you find a path, and that trust makes creativity immensely easier, I suppose. I'm gonna pause the video for a second. If I All right. I just had to check the time because I also have a meeting coming up, so I cannot just talk forever. So, to help us hone in, I want to draw a card as well, um, to help me with this creative process. Right now, as I'm speaking to you about it, I feel like I'm most drawn to the idea of making a tarot centric month on Patreon, and basically just, sharing affirmations, as I said, to get you in the right mindset to read tarot for yourself, but also sharing journaling prompts that connect you more deeply with your deck, or that show you how you relate to tarot as a tool. I think that could be really exciting. As I said, sometimes I hold back with that because I think not every one of you loves to read tarot for themselves, but I think it's a nice idea. We're gonna draw a card and see what the cards say about it. Even though I guess the cards will not be neutral, they will probably be biased towards, yes, make it about us. Oh, okay, wow. One card like flipped while I almost said stirring. Shuffling is the word. Not being a native speaker is funny sometimes. So I drew this card. It's the 5, and it's called the Druid. I'm using the Legendarium Tarot. And the Legendarium Tarot is, even though it doesn't say it because that would be copyright infringement, it's basically a tarot deck that is based on the Witcher universe. It also has different fantasy elements that are not necessarily in the Witcher universe. It also has other elements of Polish folklore and stuff like that, but it is pretty witchery, let's say. The Witcher, if you don't know, is a series of games, series of books, Netflix series. Yeah. Yeah, so we have the Druid, very interesting. I don't remember in any of the books to have, were there druids? Oh, there were. I'm remembering now. But they didn't have a huge role. I just remember that burned some burned some bad people. I don't remember what kind of bad people, like bandits or something. And there was like the circle of druids that burned it. Yeah, I don't quite remember. I will check the little book. Maybe that has something to say about it. But either way, here we have the 5, and the 5, is the Hierophant in the normal decks, which is usually about a little bit of dogma, being a spiritual leader, instructing others, which kind of goes with the whole idea of making the month about tarot. But anyway, let's read this. Hidden Sanctuary is the title for the Druid card here. One can deceive a person, but no one has ever deceived nature. Only it knows the true worth of each. I like that. So the quintessence of the card is: if you do not trust the whispers of herbs, the voices of trees, and the mysterious forces that guide birds in the sky and animals in the forest, if the sky is not a map for you and the earth is not a mother, if you do not see a soul in every living being, then why did you come here? I love that. 100%. I agree. Advice: wherever you are and whatever you do, always seek meaning in your experiences and acknowledge the real worth of your actions and goals. I like that true too, because as I'm struggling to find the topic for Patreon, of course, that is also a matter of struggling with knowing the worth of what I have to say. I'm kind of like, well, I outlined the topics, but is that worth speaking about? Do I have anything worthwhile to say about it? So this card is essentially saying, trust that. So if you have something that you're not trusting, if you have some idea where you're not trusting whether it's worth it, just do it. Now, meditation. The search for one's self, meaning, or life purpose does not tolerate haste and fuss. I contemplate the world thoughtfully to understand my place within it, and I attentively observe myself to understand the kind of world I need. That's interesting. So it's all about circumstances and how the self relates to the circumstances and the nature and the surroundings that you're in. hmm Also, it's a lot about intuition, obviously, with the whole whispers of the herbs, voices of the trees, mysterious forces that guides birds in the sky. So that's the Druid card. Very interesting. And with the Hierophant card, we also have this idea of, um, structures, routines, schemes, and maybe going against an established structure and finding your own way of doing things. Interesting. I think I need to think about this further because as I'm reading this, I also feel like it could be about the whole topic of trust that I spoke about, of trusting yourself, trusting your creative process. Maybe that is more aligned with what I'm supposed to be speaking about. Hmm. 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 Let me pause the video for a second and then I can think in my little brain a little bit. Okay, I don't have a final decision for you. So much for trusting the creative process and trusting myself that I would figure it out. I think I'm going to upload this to YouTube, and then you guys can tell me what you would like to see on my Patreon and which of the topics that I outlined sound most interesting to you. So, to recap a little bit more shortly, we have the idea of what pressures are you putting on yourself and how can you deal with them, such as feeling the pressure of having to make the best of things. Then the second idea would be making tarot focused content, making affirmations that you can use to get a good tarot reading, making journaling prompts that you can use in order to create more of a relationship with tarot as a whole or with a specific deck. Then we have the idea of discipline versus creativity and my thoughts on that to support you in creating routines for creative work. So those are the three options, and I would love to hear what your preference is. That goes doubly for my patrons, obviously, but I'm really open to anyone chiming in and telling me what they're interested in. Because in the end, as a YouTube creator, you never know why people watch you. Like, you hope that they watch you for you, but maybe they just watch you for one specific thing, like tarot. And I'm never going to know unless you tell me. So it really helps me out. So, yeah, thank you so much for watching. This was a little look inside of my brain, the ideas that are fluctuating in it and flying around. And I hope it was in some way inspiring, whether that is to share more of your own thoughts with us in the comments or with people that you're with, because I think it's so cool to watch people's thought processes rather than just watching them, present a finished product that they have full confidence in. It's so cool to watch people think, I think at least. And if you're here, you probably do too. Otherwise, you wouldn't have watched till now. And yeah, do that. Share it with other people. Share your thought processes. See how people react. It's always interesting to see. And that's all I have. Please, please do tell me in the comments or write me a message on Patreon. If you're a patron, I don't know if you can write me a message if you're not a patron, but you can do it either way, maybe. And then I will get on creating whatever you guys are interested in for this month and maybe for the month after that. Thank you so, so much for watching. I want to hear your thoughts, and I will see you very, very soon. Hopefully with another unedited video, because this was unedited as well. I just pressed the stop button, if that counts as editing. Anyways, goodbye.